Beep, beep. What is up, guys? My name is Sam World, and I make sound design and music production videos here on YouTube for dance music. Now, over the past 2 years, I've taken my family on some amazing adventures to campsites with amazing views, maybe the mountain ranges or the desert. And I can honestly tell you that a lot of these memories I associate with certain tracks made by Lane 8. If one of these songs comes on, it just reminds me of the times I've spent out with the kids, maybe a certain trip where I just had a certain song on repeat. So in today's video, to pay respect to that, I kind of wanted to make a 3 recreation of 3 leads from some of my favorite Lane 8 tracks. And these tracks will include the Atlas Pluck, which he has. It's going to include the chord introduction in his track Run. And it's going to include the main lead from Buggy, which is an arpeggiated lead, which we're going to be looking at today. Now, my hopes is that with this video, you will see it and it will inspire you to make some of these sounds or take a nab at sound design, as I'm going to be showing you guys everything that it takes to make something very similar. With that being said, guys, if you want to support the channel, you can head over to evilsounds.com where you can find my sound design work. If you're into these kind of things, make sure to check out the Exploration sound sets. We have Volume 1 and Volume 2 out now recently, which will hopefully be a right fit for you if you're into this kind of music. With that being said, let's get started with the first recreation. The Atlas Pluck is a very beautiful square bass sound, but you can also kind of categorize it as an FM bass sound. And while the sound might be kind of simple to make once you know what you're doing with it, the melody that is being played by it is very top notch. To me, it just makes you feel at peace. There's really nothing demanding about the melody. It's not happy, but it's not sad. It's sort of like you're just at peace in the middle, which is why I associate with camping whenever I'm out there, just pretty much super quiet. I think this melody kind of captures that, and I don't know if he was trying to do that, but again, I like to give meaning to some of the music that I like to listen to. So here's the MIDI of the Atlas Pluck that is playing, which we're going to be going A sharp, B, F sharp, and then you can see how the bottom notes stay the same while the top notes change, giving us pretty much like an ARP melody, which is going to sound like this. And then from there, we have this little variation which loops back into it, okay? So when I first heard this sound, I believe it was on Sirius XM Chill, which is where I find a lot of the songs that I like to listen to when it comes to melodic house and stuff. I remember thinking it's either like a Juno-based sound, squarey, or FM. It could go either way, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a square-based sound. So with that said, in Serum, we can find the Juno wavetable, which Steve Duda has supplied for us. And this is probably one of my favorite wavetables to go to whenever I want to create anything analog-based inside of Serum. So from there, we're going to kind of set up the square. The tone is sort of right, but we'll switch it later. And now we're going to shape the sound, which I feel is one of the more important things. So from here, to shape the sound, obviously the sound has a very not too much plucky, but it's sort of in the middle between a pluck and a lead. So what that tells me is that I need to lower down the sustain for sure. It doesn't mean I need to go to 0, but maybe somewhere around here. From there, the decay is going to control that How long do you want it or do you want or you want or you want that? You get the idea. So from there, we're going to route this guy to our cutoff. Now, one of the things, you know, if you're using Diva or like probably like the old school Moog synthesizers and stuff, is that the decay is sort of connected with the release. So if you give it a bit of release, you can see that the notes start to overlap, but just a hint of it gives it a little bit more sustain. Okay, from there, let's add just a bit of reverb. EQ out some of the lows we don't need. And now let's look for the right wavetable, which I already know what it is, obviously, but I just wanted to set that up, which is going to be the square here, which to me, it's a very interesting square wave because it sort of sounds like it has a low square and a high square layered together in it. From there, we're going to increase our filter pull. What that means is that usually, like with Moog filters, you have a ladder filter. The lower the number, the more lenient it is in letting the highs out, and the higher the number, the more strict it is. So usually if we're trying to make warmer sounds, you go with a higher pull, 24 dB. Let's add a bit of delay. We're not going to get super picky about that, but just the tone of the sound is there. The thing I like about delay and reverb is that it tends to nullify a sound. So if a sound is very rough, you can always use delay and reverb to kind of tell it to chill a bit. I mean, come on, dude, I'm camping. I need some beautiful melodies. Now, the thing about this sound, you can see it's very rough. So there's things we can do to kind of make it less rough, less gritty. We can decrease the amount it takes to open up the sound. We can also make the decay value be less. We're gonna add a bit of a boost on the high so that pops out a bit more. And then we're gonna use here a filter, but one of the things that I like to use is RC20. I've recently been doing a lot of interviews with upcoming artists that make tech house, techno and whatnot. And one of the unreleased ones, which is coming soon, there's this guy that recommended utilizing this plugin in the preset Vinyl 1, obviously get rid of the wobble and magnetic, which makes the sound a lot more analog-y. Let's mess with the delay a bit. It's a little too busy. And then from there, maybe a little warmer. And then from here, the cool thing is this cutoff. Okay, that we can use to make it. But in all honesty, I'm pretty confident that this is probably the closest we're going to get. From there, we can play around with the filter, make it a little bit more like, you know, utilizing a German LP. So now Atlas being at number 9, one of the more popular songs that he has is going to be Run with Casablanca. And when you first hear the song through the Spotify edit or the Sirius XM Chill version, which is the radio edit, it's going to be this very beautiful sound, which if I had to categorize it, it'd be a +7 bass sound. So you can consider that a chord stab, which they're very popular. The iconic Korg M1 sound, which you guys know from Show Me Love, it's based on a similar style like this with a +7, which in essence is playing sort of like a chord without the middle note, the second triad. But it's going to sound like this. Okay, so we're pretty much playing D, D, F, F, and then B hold, and then again starting it off on D, going down to the F, and then hitting A, looks like, or G, to be honest, G sharp. But I'm getting it confused. Yeah, it's a G. Sorry, these blue highlights are messing me up. Okay, so we're going to create this sound now, so we're just going to duplicate that. Sound is actually going to be probably a little bit more complex, but still simple. Compared to Atlas. So when creating again, we're going to go with the Juno wavetable where the saw sounds a little bit more warmer and not as perfect, bright endy. We like a bit of character. And the instant thing to do again is the +7 mod here, which is going to make the sound different. Like we're going to lower the volume a bit. If I have it at 0, we don't harmonize. But this +7, you can kind of think of it as a cool way to make chords really fast, and then from there you can develop the chord out without doing this. But we can put this at -1, so that way we have a layer. And usually when you're doing +7s, you do want to have, again, that oscillator be up an octave. Sounds so nice and warm. Beautiful. So once we have that, we're going to run them both into a filter, and we're going to pretty much process from there. Shape the sound. So again, we know dun, dun, dun. That instantly tells me 0 sustain. There's going to be a bit of sustain, and this is very important here because the note is held out, obviously. I'm gonna give it a bit of release so when the note is held out, it doesn't just abruptly cut, but it's like doon 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 doon. It still lingers a bit. Release. And then release. We are going to turn mono legato on just so that that release doesn't overlap. You know, in his track IY, he does let the leads overlap, but then you're talking about leads that are higher up in octave, not where you have lows. Okay, from there, we are going to add a bit of a resonance here. Just going to give this beautiful character. Just got to be careful. Now we're going to EQ it, get rid of some highs, because when you want to sound analog, you remove the highs. Maybe less. Again, this controls that dun dun. Could probably distort it a bit. Again, pose. Beautiful. Now, usually with my patches, if I'm trying to emulate analog or anything of sorts and I don't want that nasty high end, I'll usually run another filter, MD Low 24, maybe lower it down. Put a boost there. All right, scuffed coffee break. God knows what's in here, but it does give me a lot of good energy. So Buggy is a track by Remade and Yodo, and Yodo's another great melodic house producer. I think he has this track called Odd One Out, which is probably my favorite track from him. The other ones tend to be a little too dancey for me because, you know, I'm a father, so I ain't going to the club anymore, and I'm not running as much either. So I want tracks that I can just chill out to. So that's my excuse on why I'm not a huge fan of the Yodo tracks. But they're great nonetheless. Obviously, he's an amazing producer. Now, the next sound we have, honestly, is going to require... It's not complex again in the execution of the sound design, but it's complex in the way that they evolve it in the track and in the way they keep it interesting. So what we're gonna do is just make a new patch and initialize. I gotta have the other one just so I don't mess up anything, right? And again, we're gonna go with a Juno. A lot of the sounds that you're gonna hear in melodic house can honestly be made with just the standard analog wavetables, which is your square, your saw, and the Juno never had a triangle, I want to say, or sine. Maybe I could be wrong on that, but you should be able to make really good sounds with this stuff. Keep it simple. Okay, so we're gonna go with a saw. From there, we are going to shape it with a filter, of course. And again, if you've watched this video, you know the theme. We use the decay and whatnot. We are going to give it a bit of sustain, though, and you'll see why later. Mono legato it. Of course, we're going to add just that reverb and delay. Just filtering the delay itself. We are going to add a bit of noise. Analog section, we're going to go to the bright white. Route it in here. We are going to add a bit of decay to the white noise just to control the dynamics of it, because I don't want it to sound too but more. Okay, and not too loud either. Now we're going to add a module to the cutoff to make it easier for us to modulate, just EQ it a bit. Okay, from there, there's some cool stuff that happens with this lead, and maybe I could be going deaf, but another saw, a Juno, comes in that is a bit fine-tuned. So this is going to give this sound this kind of more lushy vibe. So once we have all of this, again, you can do the cool little sort of detune sound. And remove it. So this is something cool. I remember watching a video by Lane 8 where he says he automates 3 things in a sound. I think that's his like goal or his kind of max. Maybe it could be less, I don't know. But I think it was like a Lane 8 masterclass on Point Blank or something like that. But it's a really cool sound, as you guys can see. Very simple, but the simplicity of it shouldn't be underestimated because it's made complex with, again, the movement. And maybe the noise doesn't need this. And we could probably use the RC20 on it as well, but that's going to be a beautiful sound. Now, the way the melody works is actually one of the more simpler ones. I mean, yeah, it looks a little bit complex and longer, but for me, this looks like the A minor chord is being played, which, you know, A to the C. Usually the A minor chord will have also an E in it, but it just works its way up to then the C chord here, which I believe is going to be playing a C major. Then a D. Down to the F. And now we see a bit of variation on the top melody there, moving up and so forth. And then we move down to a low C, which is, again, we do play it up here, but now we're super low and there's some variation in melody as well. All right, guys, and that is going to be the 3 recreations for the Lane 8 leads that I wanted to do. The Atlas one, the Run, and of course, Buggy. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit a like. Leave a comment down below if you want to see a part 2. I'm sure I could probably scrape up more songs that I love from him, like some of his older ones too, I believe. I think it's called Just. It's such a that's probably one of my top ones as well. And again, guys, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you guys next time for another video. Peace out, much love, and you guys have a great swell of a day.